this now to start the show. So
Awesome.
yeah. How's Nashville treating you right now?
Dude, Nashville's awesome. Nashville's awesome. The weather is back and forth. You've been to Nashville, you know very, very well that it'll be 75 and sunny. And then next thing you know, there's just a windstorm and the whole entire city's power went out. That happened 2 days ago. So it's like, what on earth?
Uh,
Something else every day. But yeah, Nashville's good. The
has
office
has
is good.
has Nashville gotten the once a year snowfall that inevitably like leads the whole city to shut down for the duration of snow?
Yep, it happened already, and yep, the city did shut down,
That
but we recovered, so
that to me is like one of the A wildest, but also B like most astute understanding of just, hey, it would cost X dollars for us to invest in this type of equipment, but we realistically are only losing out on Y dollars if we just ignore the problem and sort of just tell everyone like, hey, like fuck off, like, just deal with it. Um, and I guess X is greater than Y in that equation. But for those who are tuning in and eavesdropping on our conversation, welcome to another episode of Late Night Bitcoin. I am your host, Q, and I'm joined by none other than my good friend, Chris Smith, the man behind all of the advertising for the Bitcoin conference and countless other hats that he wears over at BTC Inc. Chris, welcome to the show, man.
hey, Q, long time no see, long friend here, so really excited to be on the show. Thanks for having me.
No, this is going to be a good old time, and I'll start the show off as I start off every show, and I ask, how did you first stumble across Bitcoin?
Yeah, very intriguing question. I first heard about Bitcoin in 2014 to 2016 range. I was doing development on Minecraft servers. And I was under 18. So I've told you this story before, but I'll give it to the audience as well. Um, I,
Child, you child.
yeah, that's my generation, man. We were all on the craft, just building blocks, having a good time. But I was doing some development on the back end, and there were a lot of other developers that were not US citizens and they needed a way to get paid. So I knew that a lot of the server owners that I was working for were actually paying these developers in Bitcoin. I myself was US, so they kind of paid me in PayPal and other forms. So I had never actually owned Bitcoin until I got to college. But I had heard about it. I definitely knew people who were using it, and not necessarily for the right reasons. But hey, that's what the early days were for.
Fair. Did you see this meme, or I guess it was a meme? I don't know. Someone like was tweeting out about how 100 years ago, all the kids were in coal mines working, and we went out of our way to really try and stop kids from having to work, specifically in the coal mines where it's so dangerous. And then your fucking generation has to go literally like become obsessed with this game where its whole purpose is just like, you digitally go mine shit. So
Yeah,
I
that's
kind of
hilarious.
I blame your generation for all of this, just us falling backwards in time, but I
Yeah,
digress.
you can blame us for a lot, and frankly, I think you have a pretty good leg to stand on for most of your arguments. I was talking with my other friend. We were talking about just the weirdness of our generation, and he's my age. Most of them don't even know how to look the elderly in the eye or shake their hand or have just common mutual respect or really just any fundamental values whatsoever. So the bar is a bit low, to say the least. So
What is like I am considered a millennial. Like I am the youngest millennial, but like what? Because I heard something about how they changed the generational sort of how long the generational windows are, and then so it's like every year it's like oh no, actually this is Gen X and this is Gen Y and this is Gen Z. It's
yeah.
like, whoa, time out. You made my generation, like I am the equivalent of 40-plus-year-old people who have like children, mortgages, multiple cars. Like I am clumped into that generation. So where on the generational bio, how many generations behind me are you actually?
I've always considered myself one behind the millennial, specifically because my brother was a millennial, and I feel like I'm one behind him. I grew up kind of he was the older brother, so he drove me to school. I hung out with his friends a lot, so I was the younger brother that kind of had to deal with and grow up with a bunch of different millennials too. So it's in my blood, it's in my nature. I guess they consider me iGen is what they call it. It's really corny. It's basically just around the iPhone and the iPad. So it's like the lowercase I and then the capital G, iGen.
Oh
And
my God. So like Steve Jobs got everything from music to phones. Now he even got a whole generation named after just his creations.
yep, a whole entire generation. Yeah, Steve Jobs will probably go down as the GOAT, right behind Kobe Bryant, of course.
Good answer. Great answer. Honestly, that was my favorite answer of any guest on this show. Kobe Durant, also known as Ulrich, you motherfucker. Take notes. Take notes
Hey,
from this
hey,
guy.
I love Ulrich too. Me and him are great friends. Great friends. We worked on the Domi project together, which was awesome too. Have you checked that out?
I have not. Tell me more.
Declaration of Monetary
Oh yes,
Independence
yes,
com.
yes, yes.
The largest multi-sig analog in the whole entire world.
That's the pitch.
Yep, that's the pitch.
I'm gonna have a talk with Mark Mariah about that.
Do it. I was talking with Mark today. Yeah, love those guys. Mark, Ulrich, Mike Hobart. Those guys are awesome.
No, shout out everyone working on the Declaration of Monetary Independence. And if you have no idea what we're talking about, get out from under the rock. Um, and definitely show up to the Bitcoin conference. Use promo code QQQ. Get 10% off of your tickets. I will smoke you out if I sell a ticket using that code. Like whoever the one person is, I promise you, I will bring pot and we will smoke together if you use the code QQQ. So be sure to do that. I will know if you did. And then sign the Declaration of Monetary Independence. Did I spoil that? Is that going to make a second cameo?
Yeah, I think so. Not confirmed. I don't really work in activations, but I hope we have it again. We had it last year, in front of the main stage. Like 3,000 people signed it. It was pretty crazy. And there's this picture of one of like the police officers like looking at the Declaration of Monetary Independence, just like observing it like this. And someone's like behind him taking a picture, and it's like all gradient and stuff. It's actually pretty sick.
Honestly, I hear that and I'm just thinking, wow, that cop just wrote down a bunch of names and of course is like plotting with the government to go and attack all of those Bitcoiners. But that's just me being me. What can I say, man? I haven't smoked weed today, so it's like that's where my head goes. Imagine if I was high and I was having this conversation.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe best that if you were, honestly.
Uh, show tends honestly I've learned the show tends to run a lot smoother and a lot better if I'm high because I tend to ramble if I'm not, but I can shut the fuck up when I'm just a little bit baked. Um, we're talking a shit ton about weed, and you alluded to the fact that some of your friends, not you, it was your friends, were using Bitcoin for illegal activities. So, like, what is your favorite way to smoke marijuana and why?
Mine. I've actually not been smoking lately,
Good for
surprisingly.
you.
I'm on a little bit of a TB. It's been like 2 months too, so it's great. I'm just gonna keep it up. I know you're gonna break it in Miami too, so
You're gonna stay all the way until Miami? Like, is
yeah,
it like
I don't
that much
know.
of a dictatorship at Bitcoin Magazine right now? Are they saying like so? No, sober Sally's only. That would explain why I got laid off.
Oh
uh,
man, no, it's not. No one encouraged me but myself.
Good for
But
you.
sometimes you just need to take a little break, you know, get the clouds out of there.
Fair.
But I definitely have a favorite way. And man, you're gonna hate it. You're gonna hate it when I say it. It's the good old GB, the good old
Oh,
gravity
you
bong.
disgust me.
It has to be. It has to be. It's my roots. It's what I found way back in high school. And I just never strayed from the truth, Q.
I mean, I get it. I get it in high school. Like, I'll be honest, like in college, that was definitely like there was a semester where my friends and I legitimately would go to the liquor store and just buy a 2 liter bottle of whatever, have the giant jug of water, and it would
Mm.
just be like every week we would make a new one. It was vile, like absolutely vile. And I think I actually, if I, yeah, no, I did. When I graduated college and first moved back home with my parents, like I thought the smart idea, not smoking weed. The smart idea was to build my own GB to hide the weed. That lasted 2 days.
Yeah, yeah, man. The GB is where everyone started, though. You know, even you, Q. You, I know you have a special place in your heart for
Me,
it.
GB is definitely like what's gonna lead to brain cancer. Like, the days and nights that I spent using the GB are directly correlated to the day that I die of brain cancer. And you will speak at my funeral and you will say, "See, he warned me. He warned me, and now I know I will never use a gravity bong again."
Well, no one ever said that it's not gonna cause brain cancer, though. That was known the first time you hit one, you just knew, right? Like, "Hey, this might be it." But you did it again anyway, and again, and again, and again, for the reason that it's the ultimate superior way to get high.
Um, I guess. I mean, I remember when I like really started smoking weed in college. There was a day I think we were watching Gladiator after we smoked, and I we smoked so fucking much that day, and I will never forget laying there thinking in my head, "Oh, I'm never gonna recover from this. Like I'm gonna be just full blown retard for the rest of my life."
Oh,
Got it.
man.
Cool. Um, Needless to say, like the jury's still out on whether or not I ever got my brain cells back, but I will share this one story and then we will go back to the Bitcoin because I see that the two people in the audience are already sick of us hearing us talk about uh, pot. Um, I used to like rip bong on the reg. Like I was the kind of guy who would smoke 2 full bowls in a bong and then I would go work out at the gym. Like that was sort of my MO. And I didn't like smoking anything else. Like it just couldn't get me high. And then one day I ripped it and I was just like, oh, this feels funny. I don't like it. And I remembered a conversation I'd had with this guy like 2 years earlier. And he was explaining, he was like, I only smoke joints. On occasion, I'll smoke a spliff, but like I only smoke joints. And his logic was that it's a different, each variation of how you smoke provides you with this different high. And he was like, dude, I'm telling you, like the joint high is the closest thing I get to like just a medicated, like this is my medicine versus when I'm like smoking out of a bong, like I'm doing drugs. And that happened to me probably 5 years ago now. And I had that moment where I was like, oh, I'm taking drugs right now. And honestly, like I just put the bong away and I'll smoke it on occasion, but now you know me. I will roll a joint or roll a spliff if Casey will give me a cigarette, and like that's it. I fucking
Yeah.
hate edibles too.
Oh, man. Yeah,
Shut
Nick.
the fuck up.
Nick
This
does.
guy,
Yeah, he
this
only
guy's
smokes
actually tuning
50%.
in.
No, he does. Have you seen Nick's 50%?
Um, right after I had surgery on my Achilles, I was like just couldn't do anything. And right before I went to a dispensary, I was like, give me the strongest pre-roll joint you have. And like, Nick, for context, because I know you don't smoke weed, like a 50% like THC joint means it's infused with other things, because weed typically doesn't come out to be that strong unless they like fuck with it. And dude, I took a perk and then I smoked this fucking like infused blunt, and I've honestly, I was in heaven. My girlfriend was laughing at me because I just like went it back into bed, like blanket up, and I was like, yeah, no pain. I feel no pain now. That was great. That was
Well, that was probably more to do with the perk, though. I must be
oh,
honest.
the perk heightened the high, but also, side note, we're just going down weird tangents at this point, but it's late night TV, so like anything goes, all is fair game. I couldn't do the painkillers for more than 2 days straight. Like on day 3, I felt like garbage. I was throwing up. I was like, how the fuck do people get addicted to this? Like, seriously, like I need to know, because I think you do it on purpose at that point. But
Yeah, I don't know. Hey, there's a lot of opioid users here in Tennessee. It's crazy.
right, it's nuts. I mean, we can go down that rabbit hole literally for hours on end, but I know that Nick Can't Mine is just sitting there waiting, chomping at the bits to hear the stories from Chris's college days, because Nick didn't go to college, so he has to live vicariously through us, who have stories to regale and tell him. um, Craziest thing you ever did in college?
In college. I don't know. I feel like so I pledged a fraternity, and
Like,
that was
exactly. No, that's why I asked the question, bro. So did I. So again, I
yeah,
asked.
yeah.
Craziest thing you did in college. And I
Just
don't
that
want to hear about the
whole
fact that you guys aped into Bitcoin. Not
no
yet, at least.
that whole entire experience was pretty crazy. Just from start to finish. I was definitely at the one that was very, how do I say it? Like a mixture between Navy SEAL training and just utter abysmal hell is kind of what I would say. Just the Joker's dungeon, Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, you name it. That's kind of how I would describe it. But the whole entire it felt like such a blur. And like if you haven't done it, you have no idea what I'm talking about. But if you have done it, you have every idea what I'm talking about. And it's hard to explain it to someone who hasn't actually gone through it. Um, but I'm not going to sit here and say that it was life changing. I definitely could be here now without having done it. But it was pretty crazy nonetheless to be able to have I don't know, finished it.
By finish it, you mean the beer that was put in front of you and you were told chug?
It was more than that, though, I guess, from at least the situation that I was in. It was just pure pain.
Fair. That sounds miserable to a degree, but also, like, I don't know. How close are you? Like, you're so fresh out of school that I feel like you're still, and you live in the same town that you went to college in. So you're like, I'm assuming you're still very much surrounded by a lot of those guys, right?
Yeah, for sure, my pledge class. I'll be in most of their weddings for sure. So that's like that's a commonality, you hear like, "Oh, I pledged with that guy." I'll be at his wedding. Like it really does create a group of lifelong friends. Some of them I don't talk to anymore. Of course, a group that big, like you can't just keep in touch with every
How
single one of
how
them.
many how many were in your pledge class?
12.
Okay, okay. No, I mean, I'm with you. Like, genuinely, I was at the World Cup with one of my best friends who also is in my pledge class. So,
Yeah.
like, there are just some of those friends where you're like, Yeah, no, we are legitimately we are brothers. Like you'll stand up there when I get married. I'll be there at divorce court with you when you get divorced from your third wife. Like, um, but there's also I think like I I went to school on the East Coast and weirdly like it was a private school out east, and so all of the guys in my fraternity, for the most part, like we're spread out all over the country. Like there are a
Mhm.
couple guys who live in Nashville. There are a couple guys who are down in Texas. There are a good chunk who live in New York, DC, um, even Boston. But for the most part, we're like very spread out all over the place. Um, but yeah, I'm with that on the note, especially like under the notion of like easy way to make friends, especially if you're going to a place where like you don't know anyone here. So it's like, what better way to just like be forced to make a bunch of friends? Um, it was a great time. Like I
Yeah.
have I have no regrets. I personally think I'm a better person as a result of it because I got put in my place, and I probably still need to get put in my place some more. But um, yeah, just
Yeah, it's
imagine like
humbling for sure.
if I didn't have that experience, like oh man, I'd be obnoxious.
Yeah. Just submitting to authority. Like looking back on it now that I mean, I'm completely graduated, I'm out of college. I would never go back and do that. I would never do it again. But I am glad I did it when I did do it. When I was younger, when I was fresh out of high school, when I had no idea that the world had any problems at all. It's kind of like that first little step into reality.
Absolutely. All right. Let's say you have a son one day and he does decide to go to college. Do you either A, support him doing it, or B, like suggest or tell him, like, yo, you should do this?
I'll tell him that I did it, but I won't tell him to do it. Hopefully, kind of the way he was raised and the way that he got to where he was, he has the nuts to do it. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Hopefully by then my son doesn't even have to go to college. Or the world is just so messed up by the college isn't even on the table, which is
Yeah.
realistically a possibility.
Honestly, I feel like for future generations, genuinely the only reason you would go to college is going to be because you just want to party for 4 years.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it, it'll be interesting to see how like earlier this week, the Supreme Court started to hear the whole like student loan debt issue, and regardless of what your stance is, like I'll be upfront and very honest about it. Like I'm too biased to have like an objective point of view because I stand to either have $20,000 worth of student loans wiped out, or I have to pay $20,000 that, quite frankly, I don't want to. Like just to put it very bluntly, because the offer was put in front and dangled in front of me, and it's like, oh wait, no, actually not anymore. And that was a lot of Bitcoin that I bought at that moment in time. So, yeah. But to make my ramblings stop, it'll be interesting to see, I think, over the course of the next decade, how we handle it. I want to put you in the hot seat, though. And again, we're halfway through the episode and we barely talked about Bitcoin, so I apologize. But how would you solve higher education?
Higher education. Wow.
This is
How
the
would
question
I
you thought.
solve higher education? Well, I think despite what a lot of people may think, I think it does, in a sense, start from the family. A family that prioritizes education, that doesn't necessarily just send their kids to school because it's less work for them, which I believe is a real case scenario for almost every single family in America. The reason they send their kids to school isn't just totally because they want their kids to get smarter. It's also very convenient for them. So they aren't as in touch, or they aren't as motivated to make sure that the indoctrination that their kids are receiving is at par or is even right, is even actually balancing factual um, a factual reality at this point. Um, so yeah, I think I would start with the family. If there's a way to do that from a governmental structure, then I'm all for it. But I don't understand policy enough to actually allude to like a specific policy that's trying to accomplish that or do that. But yeah, I think just family values in general, being able to value that education. And ultimately, I know Elon Musk said this once, because people are like, well, schools are indoctrination centers these days, which yes, they are. I agree they are indoctrination centers, but everybody is running a program, whether you know it or not. Everybody's mental capacity, everybody's mind, what they think, what they believe is some type of program. You didn't just come up with it on your own. You were either told it or you researched it. I'm not saying you can't conclude things on your own, but it ultimately stemmed from some point, right?
So you're
So
saying
every
there's no such thing as an original idea? That's such an original idea, Chris. Who'd you steal that one from?
I mean, essentially, yeah, that is what I'm saying. I guess there was an original idea at some point, but from the base layer of what reality is now, the actual ability to conceptualize an original idea is pretty fantasy, in my opinion. So everybody's running a program, and many don't think that they are, and those are really the ones that are the most lost. It's about realizing that you are running a program and having as much control on the program that is running you, and understanding what program you are running. If you're just the person who listens to MSNBC or even Fox, just repeats what the commentators and the anchors on TV tell you. The ones that just read the McGraw-Hill books at school and regurgitate that information over and over again. You're most likely just completely running a program that you have no idea that you're running. But those that truly kind of think about what they are trying to conclude, what is good, what is really even going on, usually kind of have, my opinion, what I would refer to as a higher frequency, or a higher frequent programming that is a bit more a bit more of a better goal, to have as an individual. And I always relate it back to the sovereign individual. Nearly every conversation I have somehow relates back to that. But they talk about this as well, um, really kind of in depth. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I definitely don't have a solution for you. If I did have a solution for you, then maybe I wouldn't be on this podcast.
I was literally about to say, I was like, then you're doing the wrong thing. If you have the solution, go solve the problem, my friend.
But yeah, I do think it stems from family, and that's the closest type of relationship that you have when you're young. And almost every single problem or mental illness or just about really every problem in the world, especially in America, stems from some family issue, right? There's so much data to support this. So I think if there was more of a way to solve kind of the family structure, but man, how deep is that rabbit hole? I don't even know if we could go down it, even if we had 5 of these episodes. So yeah,
I,
those are
I
my high
mean,
level thoughts.
I'm down to literally just have a week long Chris Smith, like, let's solve the world problems, like, series. So don't tempt me with an idea for a mini series within late night Bitcoin. Um, I feel like a lot of what you're talking about though is ultimately this idea of just, critical thinking and the notion that, so many of us, especially having gone through the public education system, you're kind of just taught like memorize these facts, like learn these things, know them, and like just don't question it. Just you're thrown all these things, and you're never taught like how to properly process information. You're just taught how to absorb information. I want to bring up something like very touchy, very like people are going to get triggered hearing this. Critical race theory. Now, I want to separate it first. The concept of critical race theory and then the actual implementation of teaching it. I don't want to talk about that part of it. I just want to talk about the actual concept and break it down because to me, at its core, what critical race theory really teaches you is compassion, empathy, and critical thinking. And none of those are skills taught in any sort of coursework currently in public education. Like you don't learn empathy or compassion during your math, science, history, literature. Like you don't learn any of that. You're not learning critical thinking for the most part. Some teachers are really good at it. Like they challenge you to think outside of the box, like setting up debate formats. Students seek out those type of teachers sometimes, sure. But overall, especially in public education, you're not really taught sort of any sort of critical thinking. You're not growing that muscle. For that reason, I genuinely believe taking the time to understand, hey, this event in history, this is how it's taught typically. This is another perspective of the same story. And this is another perspective from a different group of people that still you would think would fall in line with this second perspective, but actually have their own perspective. And this is another, and it sort of like continues on in that way. Am I crazy? Like I am trying to get canceled by Bitcoin Twitter a little bit. So am I on the right track here or am I just absolutely bunk?
I'm not very well educated in CRT at all. I've definitely heard a plethora of arguments from both sides. I don't have an outstanding opinion on it. But I also believe that a reason I don't have an outstanding opinion on it is because um, number one, I don't have any children that are going to school now. But I also know that a lot of people do have children that are going to school now, and those are the people that really kind of because CRT would be a grassroots theory that you would implement in education. I do think it would be ridiculous to think that you would go and try and convince or kind of educate a bunch of 30 to 50-year-olds who are already stuck in their ways on some type of new idea like this. I don't think that would be productive. Things like this would need to start in the education system if they indeed were to kind of need to be implemented. But as far as the actual nuances of why and the argument of why CRT does need to exist in the schooling system, I don't think I could argue for or against.
Why are you like such a smart person? That was so much more. So I can't even like use proper grammar right now. That was far more eloquent than any answer I could have possibly come up with. But it was also like a very political answer because you more or less avoided and refused to answer the question. So I won't pressure you. It's okay.
Hey, be political. It's not bad to be political, but
I'm adjusting the camera because, on minute 42 of the episode, I finally got the camera to work. So now you can see me in all of my glory. And of course, in my lovely, lovely little Bitcoin Magazine sweater. Um,
nice. I like the little hodler too.
oh, yeah, this is my favorite. Shout out Germana for making sure I was able to get one of these because honestly, if anyone was going to have that fucking little hodler, it was going to be me. Uh, let's flip the script now. Let's go to Bitcoin. Um, I'll let you pick. We can go down the path of the story that you've written about, which I'm always down to talk about, or we can talk a little bit about the conference. I'll let you pick.
Let's I've been talking about the conference all week. Let's go with option A.
All right. So for background, uh, Chris Smith, when he was the president and treasurer of his fraternity, stole all of the funds and aped into Solana, and
Not
somehow
true. Not true.
no,
Not
Chris,
true.
hang on. Let me tell my version of the story, and then you tell yours. You have been muted. All right. So he apes into Solana, like somehow 10x's, returns the fraternity's funds into their treasury, takes the remaining 9x, sells his entire Solana stack. So all you bozos who are aping into Solana after you were buying Chris Smith's old Solana coins, proceeds to just go and buy more Bitcoin than you or I even know what to do with. And then after all of this goes down, then convinces fraternity that, hey, I legitimately did this and bought Bitcoin. I think we should just take the treasury and go ahead and put it into Bitcoin. And for some reason, no one decided to look into what happened to the treasury funds for the course of 2 months. But lo and behold, Chris Smith got away with it and walked out, what, 58 Bitcoin richer, something like that. Did I get the story even like kind of right?
No,
All
not even
right.
kind of.
All right. Tell us what really happened.
Okay. Nothing to do with Solana as well. That was a
Oh, was
personal
it Safe
Ethereum
Moon?
venture that I've actually been baptized by Max Kaiser for. So,
Wait, did you buy Kaiser coin though? Or
no,
Max coin?
I did not. I did
I
not
need to
buy
meet someone who bought Max coin. If you or someone you know was harmed by the purchase of Max coin, please shoot me a DM. I just want to talk. That's it.
I gotta say, it's gotta be John Riggins. I truly believe that John Riggins at
Reagan's bought
some
Max coin.
point.
I'm DMing him right now. Oh, Reagan's, bro. All right, continue, please.
Oh man, that's hilarious. He'll find that really funny too. No, it was a Bitcoin only venture from the start, Q. So at the time, I wasn't president, so I was pledge master. And Sean Hagan, he actually interned at BPI. David Zell and Grant McCarty's group. He was president, and him and I at this point in time were super orange pilled. So we had we had kind of stumbled past our degen phase, and it was at the exact same time where Saylor was teaching corporations how to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet and hold it as an actual asset. So we literally just copied the Saylor strat straight from the book, and we were like, "Hey, we're no fraternal organization is the whole in the whole entire world has held Bitcoin on their balance sheet or interacted with Bitcoin in any way. Why don't we become the first?" So we did it. We just became the first. So you know that first dip in the cycle, in the last bull cycle where
So
it
we went
went
from
down to
62 to
30K.
28.
Yeah, it was like 62 to 30K. We literally bought the bottom with all of the treasury, which the fraternity had no idea that we did at the time, but we bought a lot. And it was a very good decision, and I can't believe we did it. Looking back in hindsight, that was such a clear bear market start. We are so lucky that it pumped again.
Did you wait? Please tell me you guys did at least like sell some of the stack.
Nope.
Shut
Nope.
up. So
I
these
I
kids
I don't
now
I don't
are
think they
reeling with
ever
the
did.
decision that you guys made. Like, all right, I need to back up a little
These
bit. So you've
kids now,
established,
I might
hang on. So you've established that you and the president at the time were the orange pill guys. Was there anyone else in your fraternity, A, who like was Bitcoin only, and B, were there people who were like super anti Bitcoin and the broader cryptocurrency market?
No, not I mean, there was one doctor, but so this is what we did. So we bought and then we brought to the club, the fraternity, we took a vote and we said, "Would you guys like to do this? Would you guys like for us to buy Bitcoin?" But
But
not
you had already bought some at this point. right?
We had already bought a lot at that point.
Okay, so you already bought some, and then you presented it as though it was an option for these people to opt
Yes,
into. Okay,
yes,
cool. Just
yes.
just getting the facts straight
I'm
here.
just being honest. I'm just being honest here. So we took the vote and it was like 60% voted yes. So we were like, okay, send it. So then they thought at that time we then bought Bitcoin, but we had already bought it and it was like 5K more. So then we explained to them that we had already bought it and that all the funds are up like 15%, and everybody was really, really happy.
Right.
Because they said more Bitcoin price go up, more beer money. That was the logic in their head, straight
Which
up.
honestly, like the most valid logic. I could definitely like on the other side of that coin, I feel like if my fraternity, literally, if any of the executive boards ever pulled some shit like this, we would have like there would have been a fucking mutiny. Like people would have been furious if they had taken a vote, even if they had said like, yeah, sure, all right, fine, we vote yes, and then after the vote, it's oh, by the way, we actually already did this like 3 weeks ago, but we're up, it's good. It's like what?
So I will say, Sean and
Like there had
I,
to be someone who was like, yo, this is wrong.
yeah, there were a few, but kind of power of mass just shut their voices down. I don't know, called them idiots, said that they were scammers, said that they were very fiat, a lot of a lot of name calling, and they quickly just kind of shut their mouths.
Wow, so you guys legitimately bullied the people in your fraternity who spoke up against your ideas. So you're not really a freedom maximalist, is what I'm hearing.
I am now.
So long as the freedom equals the ideas that you agree with, though, right?
But it wasn't like the fraternity was ever set up for freedom anyway. It was a total monarchy. And you know that too. You've been in a fraternity before.
Hey, man, the slush fund was for whatever we wanted to use it for, okay? I left IOUs there and paid them all back, except for the IOUs that I ripped up afterwards.
Oh man. Yeah, so okay, I'm gonna continue with this story
Please.
though.
Oh,
'Cause
it still goes. It keeps going.
yeah, well, I wanted to provide a little context. So at the time, me and Sean had done we did very well in the bull cycle. We entered literally right when COVID started. We aped into Bitcoin. We aped into I mean, I don't even want to say what else we aped into, but we aped into a lot of things.
Whoa,
And we
whoa,
had
wait,
done
no, no, no,
well.
no. We're
And
gonna unpack that a little bit, okay? Like, I know what your biggest shitcoin position was, but I want like, what was the shitcoin portfolio here? Give me like 3 or 4 names because I know you had more, but I'll let you just lie and say you only had 3 or 4.
I did not have more. You're truly speculating at this point.
Uh,
True
am I
speculation.
though?
True speculation.
Am I though? Like, how many NFTs did you buy?
Zero, zero. Never bought
Wow.
an NFT.
How many ordinals do you own?
Um,
Uh,
do you want to go down that rabbit hole too?
no, 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 no. I keep interrupting you just for honestly comedic relief. But continue, please. Solana.
Okay.
So you were wait, real quick though, but you are a Solana millionaire, right? Still or no longer?
I don't own any Solana anymore.
Right, but at one point weren't you a millionaire based on how much Solana you held?
I was never a millionaire, no. No, no, not 7 figures. That would be wild though. I was in college.
Yeah. Oh man, that would be dangerous. I wonder, like, I need to meet someone who just became. Actually, that's not true. David Harvey introduced me to a kid who was a Doge millionaire, and they were college students. And literally, I remember looking at this kid, and I was like, "You bought Doge when? Oh my god!" Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I keep interrupting you.
I'll
I'm
tell you
muting
I'll tell you
myself.
where what my largest bag was. where I bought it and where I literally sold all of it. Okay. How about that? Does that work?
You
I
can, but
bought,
also I've distracted you from like the actual point of the story, which was to continue how your fraternity aped in and bought Bitcoin.
that's been going on this whole entire 53 minutes, so that's okay. Seems like the theme of the show. Hey, I'm making confessions here. It feels like this is confession hour at this point.
You're supposed well, you never actually asked like, Father, please forgive me for my sins. So like I'm not forgiving you for any of these, but you can ask for forgiveness.
I have Max's forgiveness. I don't need yours. Oh man. Man. Well, anyway, honestly, at this point, we should just move on.
No, I feel bad that I've like completely bulldozed over your story. So I'm muting myself fully right now. You continue.
Okay. Well, at the time, I had bought a ton of Solana at like $3 or $4, and I sold it all at 220. So it was a very large gain. So $3 to 220, and I literally put it all into Bitcoin. You can unmute.
For the
There's some back
people
and forth
for the
going.
people who are math challenged, that's over 73x. Like for context, people in the stock market are happy if they 2x. You 73x. Good for you.
Thank you.
Why
Thank you.
did you never go back to it though? I think that's the more interesting question here. Like why after having that much success, whether you recognized it was luck or whatever, like what was it that you were like, ooh, I'm gonna cash out now and walk away a winner.
Okay, I've been preparing this rant for a very, very long time. And this is what, as a as someone who's now Bitcoin only, even consider myself a Bitcoin maximalist. This is what frustrates me. As someone who went down the whole entire shitcoin degen 2020 bull cycle rabbit hole, ever since the first second I stepped into any of the DeFi protocols, any of the farming or the yield farming, it was so overly obvious that it was all total bullshit. That it was just total bullshit. That incomparable to the people who at a 99% loss who are still saying that like this is the future of finance, this is the rails that our bankers are going to use. How do you actually believe that? Because the only people who ever profited on any of this, I feel like, were people like me who knew that it was a fucking scam the whole time and wanted to profit from it. And yes, Q, I've learned my ways. I was very young and I was in college. But truly, truly, if you had ever spent any type of time actually looking through, doing research, doing R&D, doing your proper due diligence on any of these mechanisms, any of these protocols, looking at any of these treasuries, these projects, these VCs. I mean, this was $1 trillion space at the time. Um, Goodness gracious, it was so overwhelmingly obvious that I just can't fathom not concluding that as well. And maybe it wasn't obvious to the average Joe. But I just have such a hard time believing that. So
I've got some really honestly crazy news for you, Chris. Most of them didn't realize it. They genuinely thought they were like in on the next legitimate
and
thing.
that blows my mind. It really does. To this day, it does. It really does.
It does, and then I'm reminded of honestly one of my all-time favorite quotes from George Carlin, which is right now, I want you to think about like what the average level of intelligence is for just Americans, like the average level of intelligence. Okay. And then remember that half of the country is dumber than that level. Like, then you're starting to be like, oh, okay, you know what? All of the stupid shit that goes on actually makes perfect fucking sense.
It's a good way to put it. It's a good way to put it.
Hey man, no original ideas. Definitely not on this show though. Am I right?
Absolutely none. No original ideas. Um,
Okay, so you and Sean are past your degen phase. You guys have established that you guys have gained 15%. Where does the story go from there? Because you said it's not done.
Yeah, the whole entire time we had been orange pilling people, and it was actually I knew before I ever sold any shit coins that Bitcoin was the only thing that mattered, and was like the really the only asset in the whole entire space that had any validity whatsoever. And I had it, I guess, proven Bitcoin in my mind to be the sustaining global power that I have recently, or since I've done more research. But I knew that in comparison to at least the rest, that it was the only thing that stood a chance. So slowly and surely, we dumped everything and we put it all into Bitcoin because we thought Bitcoin was going to get adopted by so many countries. We were just scheming, you know. At the time we were smoking too, so like imagine that, being in college, owning Bitcoin, and just firing away. Oh, who do you think the next country, do you think Apple's gonna buy? Like, oh man, the the gander was just totally absurd. um
I feel
but
like I
yeah.
should start a sports book where I just like the only bets are related back to Bitcoin. And it's all done as discrete log contracts. So we'll enter into an agreement being like, all right, who do you think the next company that buys Bitcoin on their balance sheet is? Or by what date will Tesla finally start re-accepting Bitcoin to buy their cars? Or what's the next country to adopt Bitcoin? I'm gonna all right, I have a new pet project to work on now. Thank you, Chris, for that idea.
I've always thought you should start a sports book.
Dude, don't tempt
Q
me. I
QBet.
I literally tried on
I just gave you the name. I handed it to you. QBet.
QBet.
Hmm.
Um on the Super Bowl, I really wanted to bet on the Eagles. And my
Why?
girlfriend wait, let me tell you, the story has a happy ending, okay? Um but I always have had a rule for myself, which is like when I'm unemployed, you're not doing things like sports betting. So like no. So I refused to go get in touch with my old bookie or do any of that. But my girlfriend really wanted to bet, and she really wanted to bet on the Eagles. So like me being the nice boyfriend that I am, I'm like I'll take the other side of that bet. I'll bet on the Chiefs. And then my mom also woke up that morning, and for whatever reason, this woman has never fucking gambled a day in her life, and decided like, oh yeah, I also want to bet on the Eagles. I'll bet with Stevie. I'm betting against Q.
You
And
should
I'm
have done
literally
it. You should have been so confident in the Chiefs at that point.
well,
I
so here was this was I really tried to be the house, and I have a friend who's like a big Kansas City Chiefs fan. And so I was thinking, I'm going to take these bets and then I'm going to go bet on the Eagles against my Chiefs buddy. And he was like, dude, I've got so much money already. Like, I love you. Like, I'll do like $20 or whatever. I was like, you know what? Enjoy the game. Like, I'm going to just let ride what I have going. And so all the bets I had were just the two Chiefs bets with my mom and my girlfriend. And then I played like squares at the Super Bowl party I went to, which I've never won ever in my life. I win squares and I won both those bets. I was like, what the fuck? The one time for a Super Bowl that I like don't actually go and gamble is the time that I made money on my bets. So, but I would love to be the house.
dude, I definitely transferred my degenerate ways over to legal. I'm in Tennessee. Sports betting. I love sports betting. I just love it. Bitcoin only. Bitcoin only. No shit coins. Sports bet instead. Get your itch out. It's been my take for a very long time.
I don't hate that. I kind of feel like there's a degree of gambling that happens just across the board in this space, like especially when it comes to the shit coins. I would say less so, but it still exists within Bitcoin. Like the fact that people take leverage positions, like that's a bet. You're betting on the price movement a little bit there. So, like, I almost think like you kind of have to be a degenerate to be interested in this space. But
Yeah. Yeah, definitely a little bit. I definitely do think that sports betting is a lot better than shitcoining though, because there's a registered house. You completely understand you know what needs to happen whether you win or lose. It's very plain as day whether the Chiefs won the game or not. You know if your bet won. Whereas shitcoins, you're totally you're propping up an unregistered lobby of anons that you have no idea what they're doing. They very well could be Vitalik completely funding and whitewashing the World Economics Fund.
or it could just be Richard Hart taking your money and then going and buying all of the shit that he buys for himself.
Can I put something out just in the world real quick?
Well, to be honest, I was about to say like I'm going to give the mic to you for a final word because we are past 9 o'clock, so it's way past your bedtime, bro, and I do not need your mom calling me upset.
Way past my bedtime. I feel like I could show my Twitter, but honestly, Richard Hart, you got what you deserved. I don't feel bad for you. No one feels bad for you, and I'm very glad that this is coming. You should have stayed a Bitcoin Maxi.
No, we don't fucking need that guy. Fuck that.
For his sake, for his sake.
For his sake, he should have just never tried to like scam people. But I'm a big believer in karma. So yeah, karma's coming. Dick Hart.
It
You should call
already
him
came. It already
Dick
came.
Hart.
The feds are at his door. Are you
Did that
clued?
officially happen? I've seen like he changed his profile a little bit. He had a warrant or not a warrant. He got he got served papers. I know that. So like he was already like getting investigated a little bit, but like is there something that
I
broke
mean,
while
he
it was
scammed millions of people, and there's SEC documents with his name all over them. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but those have been circulating for months now. Like that's not nothing new. I think what's more telling is the fact that like he started to like shift his internet persona a little bit because I think he is getting like I think he's just his legal advice, his legal team is telling him like you might be in more hot water than we had originally anticipated here.
Well,
But
yeah, they're
I'm just speculating at that. I am not speaking from any sort of factual basis or understanding.
well,
But
I'm not speaking either, but yeah, I'd say he's got a couple feds at his door.
I honestly, man, I will go visit Dick Hart in jail. I'll do an episode with Dick Hart from jail and see if he's apologized. I'll do that.
Oh man.
Good for the
Hey,
culture, right?
you go, I'll come with you.
All
I'll
right.
come
I
with
love
you.
it. Chris, it is way past both of our bedtimes. I will see you in Miami. For our audience, use promo code QQQ, 3 Qs, just like the NASDAQ. Use code QQQ, get 10% off. If you do, Chris will be the one who tells me, and then I will smoke you out in Miami. So, Chris, any final words of wisdom for our audience?
Come to Miami, listen to the actual smart people talk about Bitcoin. Use
So
code
he
QQ.
means not me.
Not me either. I do advertisements, but
Yeah.
it was
Pay
really,
the
really
big bucks and go see like the big guys. Don't come see us.
fun.
But you
Or
should go to Miami. It's fucking awesome.
definitely come to Miami. It'll be a fun time.
Do you want to tease anything from the conference?
Yeah. Um, Michael Lewis, the author of The Big Short, just
And
came out.
Liar's Poker.
Yeah, he's gonna do a very juicy fireside chat.
I might DM Brandon. Like Michael Lewis is, by no exaggeration, one of my favorite authors. I have so many of his books. It's insane.
He's on our website. You can skip the DM.
Yeah, I'll explain after we're offline. But thank you very much for tuning into another episode of Late Night Bitcoin with me, your host, Q. I will be back tomorrow night. And If you are listening on any streaming platforms, make sure you like and subscribe, leave us a rating, help people find this show. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.